How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to the Enclave. We are back mere minutes from the last video to talk about Module 2 of the Handgun Firearms Manual, Safety. This is unarguably, no debates, no questions, the single most important thing you need to understand when it comes to firearms. There are going to be props most likely in these videos. I do just want to stress the fact that any props I use are unloaded BB guns. Okay, not only for the YouTube algorithm, but for the peace of mind of those watching. Everything you will see is unloaded. Once again, not a real firearm. You may inspect. That is a hopper. It is not a live round, as it should be. None of these firearms will fire, therefore perfectly safe for demonstration purposes. I just wanted to stress that. If you see either the Scar Mark 16 Mod 0 or the little piece of crap P226, they are not real firearms. I will be otherwise handling them safely. I will be maintaining trigger discipline, muzzle discipline, etc. I just wanted to stress that before I get anyone in the comments saying, "Oh my gosh, he just pointed a Scar at his head." No, if at any point these muzzles do anything unsafe, just be aware of the fact that they are toys. Obviously, you want to treat every firearm as if it is loaded and as if it is real. So we will not be doing anything that is unsafe. But I just wanted to stress that. So, firstly, safety. What is safety? Safety is safety. It's how you stay alive when you do anything in life. And with firearms, there is no exception. There is no time where you want to play around. There is no time where you want to slip the rules. There is no time where you want to play fast and loose with anything that we're going to go through in this section. You do not joke, you do not play, you do not have a fun time. As much as I'm smiling, I'm happy, I love doing these videos, I am having a fun time. Handling firearms is incredibly fun, even if they're toys. I have owned many different guns over the years that fall under the non-gun category, and I love every single one of them, honestly. So, first off, safe direction. This is very important when doing anything with your firearm: cleaning, loading, unloading, safety inspections, anything like that. You want to maintain a safe direction. Most crucially, when it comes to doing your test, you will most likely be asked to identify a safe direction. If you are in the range at this point, assume always that the safe direction is down range. That is just something I want to emphasize, and it may also be a question in your test. I actually did get those questions a couple times, I think twice. When in a range, the safe direction is always down range. Range rules: never turn around with a loaded firearm, never turn around while loading or unloading a firearm. And this one's a little bit different, but never turn around while loading a magazine. That also depends on what firearm it is. If you're just standing with a Glock mag, there's nothing wrong with talking to your friend while you load bullets, to be honest. In fact, while doing your test, you will most likely be standing talking to your instructor, facing him while loading your magazines and things. It just saves time and it's a little bit easier for everyone. But when not in a range, your safe direction, best case scenario is going to be downwards at a 45-degree angle. So let us use the P226 toy here. So you want to have it down at a 45-degree angle. Now the thing with this is you want where, if the worst were to happen, if this were to fire, you would want the bullet to travel approximately, this is not going to be in your test, approximately 3 meters away from you. That is just so that in the case that it ricochets, it is going to absolutely ricochet forward. You do not want to be pointing this down at your feet, because then the ricochet can go any direction. It can go forward, it could go back, it could just stop straight in the ground, it could come right back up at your face, who knows. So you want to have a bit of an angle. If you're out in the wilderness, like I say, approximately 3 meters away, 2 to 3 meters, but that'll give you about a 45-degree angle. So in a room, if you were, for instance, in your home, now I have a couple of rooms, or a couple of walls here. So I have a wall in front of me, majority window, but it has some wall at the bottom. I have a wall to my left, which has built-in cupboards, and on the other side of the wall is my TV and potentially my wife and all pets. To the right, I have a wall that leads into my bathroom, which has another wall, which leads to another room, which has another wall, which leads to the outside. Now, for me, the optimal place to point my firearm would actually be towards my bathroom. Because if the worst were to happen, which it shouldn't if you follow all the rules, this round, being a 9mm, looking at the 5.56 the SCAR would traditionally carry, might have a little bit of a harder time stopping that. But if this 9mm were to go off and it were to fire through this wall directly here into my bathroom, through that wall, it would still have 2 additional walls that it would have to travel through before it got to the outside world, let alone my neighbors' defenses, which are their walls, etc, etc, etc. Whereas, if I turn this firearm this way, it has to go through one wall, and then my wife and my pets are potentially at risk. This direction, at this angle, it would go straight through a window, through a very flimsy brick wall, which is most likely powder more than anything else, and it would very likely injure my neighbors. This direction, my mother is at risk, because where I'm sitting here, there's only one wall between myself and the outside world, which has my other family members. So, I mean, once again there, if you didn't notice, I did at no point this at my face, but anyway. So you always want to pick sort of the path of most resistance before you can hit anything of importance. You will notice I listed my TV. You don't want to put a round through your TV. I can tell you now, insurance is not going to cover that. So you're going to have to go out and buy a new potentially 10,000 Rand TV. So, safe direction, down, 45-degree angle. Now, there are other times like where I could potentially point forward like this, would be if I was pointing down at the ground, directly at the corner. So where the floor and wall meet, you would basically hit in this distance. And then any ricochet would go straight up, boom, into the wall. Then that wouldn't be too much of a problem. But just to cut an extremely long already story short, you need to understand your safe directions. They may try and trick you and ask you to list a safe direction that is not safe. So you need to understand that. Firearm rules, these are absolutely important. Okay? Always keep your firearm pointed in a safe direction away from people. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Always keep your finger off the trigger until ready to fire. Now, something I mentioned in my long little run through, this should be your standby. There are many different positions. Some people carry really high, some people carry low. It all depends where your hand sits. I tend to ride the join of the slide and the frame. This is how you will spend, even on range, most of your time, unless you're just there to mag dump. Most of your time with your firearm will be spent with your finger straight. This is the minority. If you're going to be taking 5 shots and leaving the range, you will spend more time with your finger like this than you will spend with your finger like this. And let's all be real, you'll spend more time with this bloody thing in your hand than you will with this in your hand if you're only doing 5 rounds. So that is just something, always keep your finger off the trigger. Number 3, always treat a firearm as if it were loaded. Like I said in the beginning, even though these are toys, we still want to be conscious. We still don't want to be pulling the trigger willy-nilly while the thing is pointed at our eye. Once again, it is not pointed at my eye. But you don't want to do that. You still don't want to look down the barrel. I mean, I could do fun little things and unscrew this, and then I can. Look, now you guys are looking down this thing's little barrel. So yeah, it is very important to always treat a firearm as if it were loaded, even if it's a toy, guys. Things like this, and absolutely things like this, they can do some serious damage. If you hit someone in the eye, in the ear, in the throat, you can do some damage to them. So you absolutely want to always treat firearms as if they're loaded, even if they're toys. Always know your target and what is beyond it. That is incredibly important. Yeah, you don't want to be shooting a bad guy and injuring some mother and child a block down. So you absolutely want to make sure you know what your backstops are. You understand your weapon capabilities. Like I was explaining, this will go through 1 brick wall and stop. This would go through a few brick walls and stop. Also depending on the ammunition types you're using. If you're running 9mm hollow points, obviously their penetration is much less for that exact reason in many cases. So the ammo you choose to carry is also very crucial. If you know you live in a town, in a suburb like I do, for me to carry full metal jacket, heavy rounds like 147 grain full metal jacket, that's just a dangerous round to carry in small confined spaces. You want something more like 115 grain hollow point that is not going to do as much penetration, but it's absolutely going to get the only job you need done. Let's be honest. When you're on the range, different story. Use what you want. If you want to blow through hollow points on the range, God bless you. But yeah. Anyways, moving on to the next page, we have our safety precautions. So this is an incredibly important thing. This is in absolutely every test that I've ever written. When to carry out safety precautions. When receiving a firearm, when handing over a firearm, and before cleaning a firearm. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, 3 easiest marks you'll get on your test, but incredibly important. And now, how to perform a safety precaution. This will vary from firearm to firearm, but for handgun, it goes as such. Identify a safe direction. Anything you do with a firearm should always start with identifying a safe direction. So once again, we have the P226. What you're then going to do is point said firearm in the safe direction. Okay. I want to read this because I want to give you guys exactly what you need to be writing down, because it is important. So, with the firearm still in a safe direction, remove the magazine. We are not going to be doing the revolver things. I just want to clarify that if y'all didn't realize. Then for the semi-auto, once again, finger off the trigger, we are going to rack the slide back. If there is a round in the chamber, that will eject said round. If there is not, it will lock your slide to the rear. I am using a fair bit of force to hold the slide back because this does not lock back. And yeah, you then inspect the chamber, which this doesn't even have one. You inspect the chamber, and while inspecting the chamber, you can do it quite easily. You basically look forward and tilt, forward and tilt, forward and tilt, and that will give you the ability to look down the chamber, down the magwell, down the chamber, down the magwell, very easily, while maintaining good control of the firearm. We can now release the slide, which by this I just let go of my finger, and yeah, if you have a hammer, you will then controlled lower the hammer. So on this we just do that, but you will under control release the hammer, lower that down. The firearm is now clear and safe. That is pretty much your safety inspection. Yeah, other notes there, normally don't let your hammer drop. It can cause damage to your pin and or your hammer. So you always do want to lower your external hammer, obviously if the firearm has one, under control. Things like Glocks, Canex, TP9s, Walthers, things like that, that all have the internal, damn it, what's it called, the pin, like the internal pin mechanism instead of the external hammer mechanism. Those you obviously can just drop that, it is not a problem. So yeah, that is pretty much the safety precautions. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. You need to understand the safety catches, absolutely. General safety and range rules. You absolutely want to know these. You don't need to know them off by heart. You just need to sort of understand the concepts behind them. So you need to know that you don't turn around with a loaded weapon on the range. Things like that. Something that is important here on page 19, we have ear protection. Okay, we actually have all of the stuff. You need to understand what PPE stands for, personal protective equipment. That was in every one of my tests. So you need to understand what personal protective equipment is and what PPE stands for. I think thanks to COVID-19, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know what PPE stands for anymore. But what is crucial in this section is your ear protection. So, your ear protection, why do we use ear muffs on a range instead of ear plugs alone? That is absolutely crucial. Once again, that was in every one of my tests. You need to understand that the vibrations do not get stopped by little rubber plugs in your ears. There are, I think, 1 or 2 exceptions to that rule. You get some incredibly high-end just inner earplugs nowadays that are digital noise cancelling, all sorts. But I could tell you now, you most likely don't have those. So you absolutely need to be getting yourself a set of ear muffs to prevent those vibrations from entering your ear and damaging the inner ear bones. That is absolutely important. Funny story, the doctor that I wrote my initial test with, that I said was my doctor from many years back, he was actually an ENT, and I damaged something in my ear scuba diving. So yeah, that Small world, like I say, but everything ties back. So you absolutely need to understand why it is that we don't just use ear plugs when it comes to indoor range use. Safe carry conditions. You will most likely be asked to load a weapon or to take a weapon from an unknown loaded position to a safe carry condition. With the handgun, we have 4 safe carry conditions. The firearm has a loaded magazine, round in the chamber, the hammer is back, and the safety catch is on. This is often referred to as cocked and locked. So you have the hammer cocked and the slide locked. That is what a lot of 911 uses. That is often how they will carry. I don't have any problem with that. Condition 2, loaded magazine, round in the chamber, hammer forward, safety catch off. So now here we still have a round in the chamber, but before firing we would need to cock the hammer on single action firearms. On double action firearms you would have the safety of the extended trigger pull. So for those of you who don't know, double action firearms, basically when the hammer is not cocked and you pull the trigger, you will have a much heavier trigger pull and a much longer trigger pull before you get to the back and break. Okay? Then when the slide has been racked or the hammer has been pulled back or you have fired a shot, which obviously racks the slide, you have, similarly to what this does when it's actually under spring tension, almost no travel. You have an extremely light, extremely short travel trigger. So that is what you would have for a double action. Single action, you would still have to cock or rack the slide to have that actually be able to fire. Condition 3, loaded magazine, empty chamber, hammer forward, safety catch off. I don't really recommend this. So this is pretty much an empty firearm. You would need to rack the slide to chamber around, which has the potential for a malfunction, which in a life or death scenario, you want to eliminate as many variables as physically possible. So I don't personally recommend condition 3, but that's just me. Condition 4, once again, this I would only recommend for storage. No live ammunition in the firearm at all. Any live ammunition is carried separate from the firearm. This is the recommended condition when transporting firearms in the boot of your car. Okay, if you're on the way to the range and you've got your handgun in your Johnson, well, on your Johnson, or Sheila, and you've got your rifles in the back, of course, don't have your rifles loaded. That's just common sense, no problem. But for your personal carry weapon, I wouldn't recommend it unless it were situations that you need to have your weapon in that position. But yeah, that is pretty much that for module 2. It has been a very long video, guys. But like I said, safety is absolutely crucial. If you follow the 4 firearm rules, keeping your finger off the trigger, treat every firearm as if it's loaded, never point your firearm at anything you're not willing to destroy, and know your target and what is beyond it, you should never have a firearm malfunction that is your fault. Now, I do just want to add, for anyone who gets this far, there is a video on YouTube of someone having his firearm go off during an IPSC competition. Basically what happens is he has his finger off the trigger, he draws his unloaded firearm, he racks the slide, and as the slide comes forward, bang, the firearm went off. Now, the odds of that happening are very slim. It is possible, I won't deny that it's possible, but the odds of it are very slim. Even the people in that video congratulate him because they say you handled it perfectly and you managed to show us something on camera that has almost never been captured on camera. It was a modern firearm malfunction. That the firearm fired without the trigger being pulled. It is rare, okay? It is possible, but it is very rare. So like I say, if you follow those 4 rules and you maintain firearm safety at all times, you should be able to have a long and productive and happy life with your firearms. I just want to stress that firearms are fun, okay? Like, I got to shoot some really big guns the other day and my shoulder was sore for 2 days. But can I tell you, I couldn't stop talking about it. I still want to talk about it. I want to make new friends so that I can tell them about the guns that I got to shoot and that I got to blow up some water bottles with a shotgun. That is friggin' amazing. I don't know how many people who even own shotguns have gotten to do that. But I had an incredible time. I love firearms. They are incredibly fun and they can be incredibly fun. They do not have to be tools of death. They are. That is why they were created and it is often why they are used. Things like this is a military weapon. Once again, it is not, but it is. This is made for a military. This is made to kill people. But if you were to take this to a 3-gun range, oh my word, what a time you would have with it. Anyway guys, this has been a very long video. Thank you so much for getting this far if you did. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe. It really is the only way the channel will grow. And if you still have some time, maybe check out the annotations at the end here. It'll pull you through to another video. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.